Okay, yesterday we began a Mishnah on Daf Yomi on the base. The Mishnah stated that what happens if a man appoints a shliach to bring a get to his wife or shtar shikra to his eved. So he can retract the shlichus regarding the woman according to everybody. Why? Because it's a chayv for a person to be divorced. She's being sustained by her husband. The husband can't force the issue, not give her food, meal, and not to be married would be a chayv for her. However, regarding the eved, we had machlokas between Rabbi and the Chachamim. Rabbi, it also was a chayv for the eved to be free. Rabbi was also a chayv for the eved to be free, and therefore you can retract even the shliach giving the get shikra to the eved. The Chachamim disagreed. The Chachamim said, no, it's good for the eved to be free. And they made a contingent upon his ability not to feed him. They said if he wants, he doesn't have to feed him. So therefore, the eved has nothing to lose by staying in his jurisdiction. Therefore, he doesn't feed him, and he will go free. We don't want to go ahead and die from that. That a typhus about chov b'makom shechav lacherim would be okay. What's a typhus about chov? You have by you picking up this object, you're causing a loss to somebody else. Can you do it or not? So this shliach is picking up the get at the loss of the Adon, who's now losing his slave. Nonetheless, we can see that it can be right. It can be done because the slave is going to go free. And Rabbi Yirmiyah, who had been dreaming when this conversation was taking place between Rav Huna and Rav Yitzchak, by Yosef, he wakes up and says the fact that the eved can't go free has nothing whatsoever to do with the halacha of Tayvus Balchov. It has to do with the concept of Tenu and Kischi. When this, in other words, as soon as you went ahead and made this person a shliach, at that period in time, this eved was this shliach was zocha for this eved, and you can't go back on that. He is zocha for the freedom of the eved. True, the eved wouldn't go free until the get actually reaches his hands. But right now, at this point in time, it's not like when you said to the shliach, you're not a shliach anymore. At that point in time, he's picking it up. And you can make an inference that, look, you can pick up something at the expense of somebody else. There's no picking up something. As soon as he said you're a shliach, even when he retracted the shlichus, it's too late already. And that's the din of Zachem Adam. The Gemara wants to say that this, in fact, is a machloikis, whether you can pick up something with somebody else is a machloikis Tanoim. So let's pick it up. 6 lines up on Yud Aleph on the base. So Amar Rav Chisda, if someone picks up something at the expense of somebody else, in the following scenario, the nan. We know one of the various matnas aniyim is peya, corners of the fields, and a person is being malakid peya. But Amar, he says, listen, now this person is an usher. He has no right to pick up peya, zero. But he picks it up and he says, I want to go ahead and pick it up for such and such an ani. Now, this is a typhus the Baal Chov, the Makam Shechav Lacherim, right? Because by picking up this up, that it's coming at the expense of all the other aniyim who now can't pick it up, right? It's coming at the expense. All the other aniyim now will be losing their ability to pick up the sleket. So it's a typhus the Baal Chov, the Makam Shechav Lacherim, and therefore, since Rabbi Eliezer says you can Zaycha, Rabbi says Zaycha, it must be Rabbi Eliezer holds typhus the Baal Chov, the Makam Shechav Lacherim, Kana would work. He can't pick it up for any particular ani. As soon as he picks it up and ani comes along, the first ani that comes to his door, he has to give it to. So obviously he must hold that a typhus l'bal chayv, b'machem shchav l'acherim, ain't a kaina. So let's say that, says Rav Chisda, this idea that we introduced in our Mishnah, they wanted medayik by the fact that you can't have charata loy to chachamim because of the get. That we wanted to ascertain that's because of that reason. That the Yechavli Acherim, in this case, it would be the master that would be able to get it. And before we saw the concept of Ten Kischi, we wanted to go ahead, and that's how we rolled into this, whether this din of Hatayvus Balchayv works or not. Like Rabbi Eliezer, since I can do it, I can go ahead right and pick it up for that particular ani. I am being chayv other aniyim. We see Hatayvus Balchayv, b'makam shchayv l'cherim is kaina. I could pick it up for that ani. Loite chacham that says no, you have to give it over to the first ani you come to. I can't pick it up for that ani because a toifus the malchoi machashal chayvachem ain't a kind. So let's say this idea, this concept that we introduced in our Mishnah, in fact, is machlokes tanoim. That's what the Gemara wanted to say. Says the Gemara, you have the raya. Perhaps it's not so. Ad kan like come Rebbe Eliezer Hassam by what? By the case of picking it up the peya over there. Ella demigu the iboy mafka lehulin chasai v'haviyani. Since it's possible for him 3 mafkas is property, and bekamanani v'chazilei umiga the zechel nafshi zechel chavre. In other words, usually a toifus the balchoiv is you have no shaykhis to the object. I'm picking it up for somebody else who has shaykhis to the object, right? I'm picking it up. Ruvain owes Shimon money. I'm picking it up for Shimon. He doesn't owe me any money. So too over here, you're not an ani, so you're picking it up for another ani. Says the svarim could be this person has a shaykhis to it. He can go ahead, be mafria's property. At that point in time, he wouldn't have 200 zuz for a year, which is the cutoff for an ani. He'll be an ani. At that point in time, since he has shaykhis to it, he can pick it up for him. So it has nothing to do with toifus about choiv. He's being toifus for himself, and therefore he can give it to him. So therefore, that's why it works. Mashenka, a regular toifus about choiv where he has no shaykhis, he can't go ahead and make himself a player in that matter. It would not work. Still Malohi, I'd kind of like Rebbe Eliezer Hassam, Ella Demigudi by Mafkal and Chasik, Mafkas and the Chasim, Vahaviani, Chazile. Since he can be zeicha for himself, he can be zeicha for his friends. Aval hacha over here, but loy, Rabbi Eliezer will be moided that what you can't pick up for somebody else. That kind of like Rabban Hassam who says you have to give it to the first ani that comes in the door. El dechsiv, we have a gzeirus akasiv. It says loy. The pasuk says when you're cutting your harvesting, do not consume the end of your field. And the gleanings of your cuttings, loisalakate, lo'ani, and like Valager Tazavay son. It says you should leave for the ani and the ger. But we're going to go ahead and read the pasuk, loisalakate lo'ani. What does that mean? Loisalakate lo'ani. Don't pick up your stuff for the ani. It's a kasev. Really, a toifus about choiv macham shechav lachayim you could do. Here we have a gezeirus akasev. How we dash in this pasuk, loisalakate lo'ani. Don't pick it up for another ani. Good. But in Achinami, they could hold the Tavis of Al It does work. So we just switched the tables. You wanted to say Rebbe Eliezer says you could pick it up for Nani, holds from Machmash Chavis Kaina. No, maybe over here because he's seen to it. He can be a Nani himself. Mashenk in a regular case, he will not be Kaina. I the Chacham say over there that what you have to give it to the first Ani that came in the door. So let's bring a raya, the whole Tavis of Al Chayim. No, they could all Kaina. I have to give it to the first Ani that walks in the door because there's a custom. Like Salak the Ani, you can't go ahead and be Malak at your field for another Ani. What does Rebbe Eliezer do with this pasuk? What do they do with the pasuk? It's mashma. You can't pick it up for another ani. And Rebbe Eliezer says you could. It says it's the one ani. That's because you're an ani. Don't think you don't have to give leket a shechem peya. You do. You have to give it. It's one on himself. Okay. That concludes the portion of the inyan of. The Gemara now is going to segue into nothing to do with Masech the Gitin whatsoever. It really was a shaila we were introduced by a woman in Mezainis Masech the Ksubis. Can a woman say to her husband, "Listen, you keep your Mezainis, and I'll go ahead and keep Ma'aseh Yadayach"? Well, can the husband say to the woman, "Listen, I'm not gonna give you Mezainis, and you keep the workings of your hands"? What about an Eved? Can a person not feed his Eved? That's the question. The question is here: can a person not feed his Eved? Can he tell his Eved, you go ahead and work? In other words, work for me, I'm going to pay you. Where you're going to eat, go to beg door to door. Go beg door to door. Now, the Gemara is going to try to replace it from a few different places. First from Tanoim, then Amoraim. It's going to be unsuccessful in the Tanoim stage. It will be unsuccessful in the first Amorah stage. The latter Amorah Rabbi Yochanan, we're going to see that a man, in fact, could tell his Eved, you can work for me and I won't have to feed you. If you work for me and you won't have to feed you, that's the bottom line. Okay, so it's not an easy Gemara, but we're going to do the best we can in the Sunday morning where everyone is so wide awake and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. and not suffering from too much Xanax, or actually Ambien. Anyway, says the Gemara, Shema mina, Yochel Rav Loimer le'eved, asei imi ve'eni zoncha. What did the Mishnah say, guys? How do we segue into this? Let's look back in the Mishnah. In other words, is it a good thing for an Eved to go free? So if the husband or the master has to sustain him and has to provide for him, so Memela, for him going free, it would not be a good thing, because he's losing that support. By the fact that he doesn't have to be supported by the master, then him going free is not Ma'alu Umayrit, so therefore it's a schus. So the Gemara wants me to make a medayik over there. You know what? Let's be medayik that in fact a master does not have to support his eved. That's the segue into this sugya. Says the Gemara, Yachal Rav Loimer, Shmami, over here see from our Mishnah, Yachal Rav Loimer le'eved, asei imi ve'eni zancha. Work for me and I won't provide for you. Says, well, no, it's not true. He said to him the following: in other words, really, I do have to support you, but I'll tell you the following: you go to work, whatever you make, you keep, and I won't support you. Okay. Now, the kavase gabe isha. Now we had a parallel case by an isha, right, where the woman he would have to support for mashma. The kavase gabe isha the amalot si ma'aseh yadayach v'kumizan asayich. So go ahead and take my siyadayach and what? And it's mashma, you'd still have to support her. But 1 second. The Isha my loy, why can't he tell the Isha that? In fact, he could. In other words, guys, look at me. We have the din in the Mishnah. Husband sent a get to his wife, sent a shashikra to his eved. And he changes his mind. By the Isha, it's a mind change. By the eved, it's not. Why is it not mind changed by the eved? Because it's a schus for the eved to go free. What's the schus for the eved to go free? He's not taking a loss because he's not supported anyway. If he's not supported anyway, so what are you losing? That was the Mishnah. Medayik from the Mishnah, well, he's not supported, meaning the husband doesn't, the master doesn't have to give him anything. Says, well, no, the really master does have to give him something. What's the case? It's speaking where he made a deal with him. You go ahead and work. Whenever you work, support yourself with it. But in Nachinami, had he not made that case, he would have to give him food. Okay? So if it's speaking in that case, that means this case also it must be speaking. We told his wife, you go ahead, go to work, and whatever you keep. Mashma, he couldn't tell her that because it says what? He has to support her. But it's not true. We know he could tell her that. So what exactly is pshat in the Mishnah? If they're parallel cases, why is it not a schus for his wife to go get divorced, in fact, right? Because she's not losing anything anyway. In other words, so the Gemara wants to know, what is obviously you could tell your wife that. It says, you know what? The wife is getting support, but it's not enough to support her. So you did tell her, listen, see my I won't give you mezainis. I won't take you my yadav. Again, we saw in the ksubis. They were metakin tachas my yadav mezainis that you got, but the workings of your hands you got, and she would give you mezainis, and you would provide for mezainis. So now you did that deal. However, whatever she made was not enough for her needs. It says therefore eved nami b'deloy safik. So therefore, Eved also must be also that it's not enough for his needs. So we want the parallel case. Gemara says, well, that's the case. An Eved who can't make enough money to feed his stomach is not worth anything. In other words, there's no hadafa by an Eved. By a woman, there's hadafa. By a woman, by an Eved, it's the basic sustenance, nothing more. Okay. So the bottom line is, you were not being able to push it to Shiloh from a mission. Again, what's our mission, guys? Just never lose sight of the mission. Can a master say to his Eved, I won't feed you? Can he do that? We want to make a right from Mishnah. He could do that. We're saying, no, our Mishnah is speaking where he made a deal. Here, what was the deal? Whatever workings, I won't support you, but you can keep the workings of your hands. Another attempt to go ahead and say, can your man tell an Eved that you can work and you can work and I won't pay for you anything. Tashma. Eved shegalo le'ari miklat. The person kills b'shogeg. We know it's a parsha. If you kill b'shogeg, you have to run to the ari miklat. Now he runs there. Ein Rabbi chayv lezoynoi. The master does not have to support him. But not only doesn't he have to support him, el shemaisa yadav l'Rabbi, and whatever money he makes working the ari miklat goes to the master. So the master gets the money. He doesn't have to give him food. So l'chari you have a raya shmami no yachal Rav loyme le'eved asei mi v'eni zancha. You have a riot, a person could tell an Eved, work for me and I won't give you anything. Because look, he doesn't have to feed him, and he's getting the money. So if he's getting his Ma'aseh Yadcha, obviously what? He does. He didn't make a deal with him. He didn't make a deal with him. You keep your Ma'aseh Yadcha, and I won't feed you. No, I get your Ma'aseh Yadcha, and I still don't have to feed you, which is the raya what we want. We want to make a raya that what? I can tell you work, and you're not getting anything. Says Gemara, he said, what did he tell him? He told him, listen, I'm not going to feed you. I'm not going to feed you, but your Ma'aseh Yadav you keep. Fred the Gemara Kasha 1 second. Ma'aseh Yadav Amayla Rabbi. Guys, look at me. He said to Dinim. He said if the ever goes to Ari Miklat, he doesn't have to feed him, and he keeps his Ma'aseh Yadcha. That's what he said. So you have a raya. He keeps his Ma'aseh Yadcha. You don't have to feed him. You don't have to give Yevid anything. Says him, no, it's speaking where you made a deal. Whatever money he makes, he keeps. Says the Gemara, if any money he makes, he keeps, then it doesn't make sense what you just said. You don't have to feed him, but you get his Ma'aseh Yadcha. Why are you getting Ma'aseh Yadcha? That was your deal. Keep your money. Keep your Ma'aseh Yadcha. What do you mean? You can't, that's like the price of there, that it's speaking that you get the Eretz Ma'aseh Yadcha, because if it's speaking where you made a deal, tit for tat. Keep your food. I won't feed you. Keep whatever you make. And so, and in the same breath, the Brisa says, but whatever he makes goes to you. That makes no sense. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what makes sense. The Dafa makes too much. He doesn't need so much. So the extra goes to you. The basic need, really, you're not able to tell your Eved, go to work, and I won't feed you. Really, you have to feed the Eved. You could make a deal with him saying the following. That, by the way, if you go to work, you can keep what you want, but I won't feed you. Fred the Gemara, but it says you keep it. How can you tell him that? Go to work and go to work and keep it. It says over here that you get it. And the Gemara, what does the Odin get? He gets the Adafa, he gets the extra. But in the Chinami, he can't tell him, go to work and you won't get anything. It says Hadafa Pshita. Hadafa is Pshita, goes back to the master. Since let's say he didn't have enough, he wouldn't have to give him. Guys, he makes a deal with his Eved the following. Listen, you go to work, I won't feed you. The Eved goes to work, and he's not successful. So does the master have to feed him? No, doesn't have to feed him, right? Doesn't have to feed him. Let's say he makes a little too much. So maybe I might think, let the Eved put a little slush fund away, right? Little security for a rainy day. That's because there are times I won't make him much. So you might think the following. He makes a deal with him, the extra money that he makes, let him keep it. Why? Because he may need it for a day where he won't have enough. No, there's no slush fund, there's no little under the mattress for the Eved. Anything has to go back to anything extra beyond his basic needs goes back to the master. But Einachinami, you can't prove to me that an Eved can go ahead. Master can tell an Eved, you're working for me and I don't pay you, because it's speaking over here where you made the deal, you keep your Ma'aseh Yadav. Guys, good? Again, we are trying to, the whole daf is the same thing. Can a man say to his Eved, go to work, I won't pay you? And we've tried 2 Mishnayos, and both Mishnayos we answered the same thing. It's speaking where you made a deal with him. Keep your Ma'aseh Yadav and I won't feed you. But Einachinami, without that deal, a man would have to feed his Eved. So right now, we don't know the answer to the Shaila. We had 2 Tanoic attempts. We don't know the answer to the Shaila. Now, on that, this Gemara asks, so, guys, if it's speaking a simple, straightforward case where you said, if whatever you work, you make, you keep, and I'm not going to feed you, why do you have to say it's speaking in an Ari Miklat? Like, why did the Ari Miklat have to do with the price of tea in China? But it must be Ari Miklat is a player over here. So there's no Maishnal Ari Miklat, Sakadai de Chamina, it says V'chai. The pasuk says, Lanu Shama Retzeach, a place where a murderer Rishogeh can run to. Asher Yitzchak Esrayeh, who killed his friend, Mibli Das without knowledge. Lo Yisrael Le'min L'Shulchan, he didn't hate him previously. V'nas Alachas Min HaOrim HaEl V'chai. He'll run to one of the cities V'chai and he'll live. V'chai means that Avalei Chiyusa Tfei. We want to make him live. We're supposed to give him a good life in the Ari Miklat. So I might think that we want to give him a good life in the Ari Miklat, and therefore even he would keep the Hadafa, Kamash Malan, that what? He doesn't keep the Hadafa. Now, Fred the Gemara, Lamidik Tani Seifa, Aval Isha should go to the Ari Miklat, a woman that goes to the Ari Miklat. She never killed b'shoigeg, and she goes to the Ari Miklat. Baila chayiv b'mizonaseha. The Baal is chayiv in her mizonis. Right? Mechlal de lo yamala. Mechlal, he didn't say anything to her. The amala baila amai chayiv. Guy, look at me. We want to be consistent. I got a bracelet. First part speaks about an Eved, the second part speaks about an Isha. You're telling me the first part is that he made a deal with the Eved, whatever you make, you keep, and I don't have to feed you. The Sefer says, but if a woman goes to the Ari Miklat, the Sefer says, but if a woman goes to the Ari Miklat, he has to feed her. But one second. If this is speaking where he made a deal with her, this also must be speaking where he made a deal with her. And just so, what's the din if you made a deal with her that what anything that you make, you keep, and I won't feed you, right? So in other words, but it says you have to feed her. It says the Gemara, it must be mechlal l'yamala, must be that he didn't say anything to her. The yamala baila my chayiv, whom the sefer l'yamala reishanami l'yamala. So we want to try to go ahead and restore the proof, guys. Again, what's the proof? If you don't have to give your Eved food, it must be that what? You get the Maisa Yadav, you get the workings of his hands, and you don't have to give him food because you could tell him, work for me and I won't eat. That's the sign it's speaking where you made a deal. It says the Gemara, this Reish is speaking, obviously the Sefer is speaking where you did make a deal, because it says you chayav to feed her. So if the Sefer is speaking where you didn't make a deal, it must be the Reish is speaking also you didn't make a deal. So let's go back and say that what a man can't tell his Eved, work for me and I won't provide for you. Says the Gemara, no. Lo'ilam da amalei. Lo'ilam, he told the Eved, work for me, you keep your money and whatever you make that you can keep, and I'll get the extra. The Isha b'deloi safka. The woman, he also told it to. However, the woman, it wasn't enough money. For the woman, Kani Seifa, a third part of that brisa, the im amala simaisi yadayach b'zunasayach reshoi mechal dereisha deloi amaloi. Okay, it's three cases. One, the case of the Eved. What does it say by the Eved? Doesn't have to feed him, gets Maisa Yadav. Next case, woman goes to the Ari Miklat, has to feed her. Third case, if he says, take Maisa Yadayach, says when he introduced it in the third case, it must be the previous two cases was not speaking that Metzias. So the first two cases were not speaking in a case where he made a deal and said, you keep your Maisa Yadav and I won't feed you. It must be speaking where he didn't say that. Oh, if he didn't say that, and he's not chayvim mezainis by the Eved, and he gets Maisa Yadav, so the you have a raya, will restore the raya that a man can tell his Eved, you go to work and I won't feed you a thing. Says the Gemara, no. That's not that hachikami. Here's the way you read it. The im maspekes, if she has enough food, for Amallah and says it, see Maisa Yadach Mizunasayich Rishoy. Then yes, Rishus. The Gemara says Misapekas Mailamemis. What's the Kiddush? In other words, she's in a strange city. A woman, when she's in a regular city, she's making money she's selling stuff from the house. She doesn't have to go around drumming up business. People know her. She's comfortable. She can stay inside where a princess belongs. Mashenkin, she's in the Ari Miklat. If she's in an Ari Miklat, that's not a place where it's common for a woman to go out. And she's going to have to go out to drum up business. So I might think that since it's not common for a woman to go out, she should stay inside and the husband should have to support her when it's enough. Kamash Malon, if you made the deal with her, then what, he doesn't have to, even though she's being over and called food by going out, he doesn't have to support her. The bottom line is, we don't have a raya that a man can tell his Eved, go to work and I won't feed you anything. So the Gemara, we had two Tanaic places. We tried from the Mishnah. We tried from Ari Miklat. Now we're going to say it's Machlekes Tanaim. Leimikit Tanai. Let's say it's Machlekes Tanaim. Reb Shim Gamliel Leimer, Yachal Eved Leimer Rabbi, and Eved could tell his master, B'shani B'tzurais, in a year of famine. A man could tell his an Eved could tell his master in a year of famine. Oy Parnaseini, either feed me, Oy Hoitzieni Lecheres, or go ahead on and free me. Good. So mashma what? That you cannot tell your Eved, I won't feed you. Because he's saying either feed me or I'll go loose, correct? Mashma that what? That you're forced to feed your Eved. The Chachamim Ma'imim, Harishus Biyad Rabbi. The Rishus, he can go ahead and say, I won't feed you, period. So this is the machlokes between Reb Shimon Gamliel and the Chachamim. My Labba Hakanifli. The Masav Yachol, right? The Chachamim say you could tell your Eved, go to work. Umasava. I'm not going to tell everybody who it was. I'll tell everyone who it wasn't. Wasn't me. Now, you have so l'chayra, if you hold, you could tell him. Avrami, it's milchiks and fleishiks. We're eating coffee with steak. Look at that. So the masava yachol to say, and therefore that's the Tanakama, the Chachamim. Masava, and Shmuel says, any yachol, and therefore what? You can say either feed me or free me. It doesn't have a tizbra. You think this is the pshat and machlokes? The tizbra. Is this the pshat and machlokes? Hi oy paniseni, ayatseni lecheres. Either or, either feed me or free me. Oy paniseni, aytenli ma'aseh yadai, beparnasasi mi boile. If it's all tali guys in parnasa, say the following: either feed me or let me keep my own money to feed myself. If you're telling me that you can force the issue that the master has to feed you, you can't force this issue to free you. You could force him to free. The Bryce is saying, listen, either feed me or free me. That wouldn't be free me is not the other option. The other option is either feed me or let me keep my ma'aseh yadai to feed myself, but not free. So that can't be the svaras of the machlokes. And if this is the case, why are you dafka learning a year of famine? Learn a regular case. He said, it's speaking in a time of famine. And the master had told him, you work, and whatever you work, you can keep. And really, I don't have the power to tell you, work, and I won't feed you. You can't be paisha the shaila. Again, can't be paisha the shaila, because it's speaking where he says, you can keep your money and feed yourself. However, ubishani b'tzuros in a year of famine, leisipek, it's not enough. So he was given permission, and now he doesn't have enough to eat. Rav Shimon savar oy parneseni, either feed me, or hetzeni lecheres ki hechi dichazi inshi umarachmi alai. So in other words, what's going to happen? It's b'sani b'tzuros. I've done everything in my power to feed myself. I cut a deal with you that you don't have to feed me, but guess what? Let me work and I'll feed myself. He still doesn't have enough. Now, what's the halacha if you free an Eved Kanani? He becomes a Jew. So, it's ears a b'tzuros. I can't feed myself even though we made the deal already. Feed me or free me. Why? If you free me, I'll be a Jew, and then people give me tzedakah. People have rachmanis on me. But einachinami, you can't be paishet to shaila that it's a machlokes tanayim. Really, you can't say to an Eved, work and I won't feed you a thing. Because here it's speaking b'shani b'tzuros, and you made the deal. Keep your money and feed yourself. But it's not enough. So why did it free me? Since it's not enough, free me. So people have rachmanis on me and give me tzedakah. I'll be a yid. And what does the Tanakama hold? No, you can't do that. Rabbanan savri mandim merachim. And the people that rachmanis al b'nechayria evedami ruchum merachim. People that rachmanis on a free person will have rachmanis on an eved as well. Now, an eved is a darga up from a guy, right, guys? An eved is a darga up from a guy. He's mechliv Mrs. Keisha. So notice the Chacham say you can't force the issue because in your status of an eved, he still will have rachmanis on you to feed you. The bottom line is we have failed to be paishet to shaila. Can a master tell his eved, I don't have to go to work and I don't have to feed you? Guys, again, going always back to the aim. You know, you can remember the old days and the teacher put the aim on the blackboard. Aim. Can a person tell his eved, you work and I won't feed you? And we failed in every single way so far. Tashma, let's try again. We failed in the Tanoic level. Let's try to go ahead and pass on the Amoroic level. Tashma. The Amarav. Hamagdish Yidei Avdoi. Someone makes Hegdish the workings of the hands of his eved. So whatever the eved works belongs to the master. I say eved. Now what does he do? So when he works, as soon as he works, he doesn't have what to eat because that food is Hegdish. Loiva, he borrows money. V'oichel, and he eats. V'oisa, and he works more. Upeireya, and he pays off the chayv. Everything will be explanatory. Now, so what's taking place over here? Adon took his Maisa Yadav and it made it Hegdish. It made him Hegdish, correct? Guys, here's the rule of thumb. Ein Adam Magdish Dava Shein Shaloi. A person can't be Magdish something that doesn't belong to him. So if the Eved is if the master is Magdish, the workings of the Eved's hands, it must be the workings of the Eved's hands work belongs to him. Good? Who's feeding the Eved? The Eved. The Eved is borrowing money. But who's feeding? So obviously what? Who's not feeding him? The master. So what do you see? A person doesn't have to feel this Eved. Go to work. Whatever you make is mine. And you have to feed yourself. Watch. The fact that it's Hegdish shows that it belongs to the Adin, correct? He's being Magdashit, the Adin. The fact that the Eved has to borrow money is because the master can tell the Eved, I don't have to feed you, which is Ashayla. Work for me, and I don't have to feed you. The proof that you can work for me is that it's Hegdish. The fact that I don't have to feed you is that you have to borrow money to eat and pay it back. We'll see that the payback in a second. Guys, again, one more time, guys. We want to be placed at the Shaila, that a person can say to David, work for me, and I don't have to feed you. L'chayri, you have a great raya from Rav. The fact that he's Magdish, the workings of the Eved's hands, shows it belongs to him. Because if it didn't belong to him, he couldn't be Magdish it. Sveitens, when we see that the Eved has to borrow money to eat, it's because the master doesn't have to feed him. So we have a beautiful Poishit Shaila from Rav's Din that he could tell the Eved, work for me and I won't feed you.
Can I ask a question?
Benji, answer him. Okay, yes, Mayor.
What's the difference on how the Eved gets money? When he borrows the money, why doesn't that money come to the Baal and that becomes Kodesh also?
Well, the question is, why isn't that money Hegdish? We're going to see that. I told you, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why didn't you wait when I told you we're going to we're going to figure this out?
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm glad to see that you're alive and sitting well in your chair. And we missed you leaning very much yesterday.
Oh, really? Was that bad?
No, we just miss you. It was fun, but we just miss you.
Much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, guys, you hear the raya? Guys, do you hear the raya? It's a subtle raya. You hear it? I'm not convinced you do, just because I'm talking loudly. So I will say it again. We have a shiloh over here. Can a man tell his Eved, work for me, I'll take your money, and I won't feed you? In other words, you got the worst of both ends. You're working for me, I get everything you do, and I don't have to feed you. Can you do that? We tried a few ways to be patient. We said, no, that was the case in all the previous cases where you made a deal. What was the deal? Your Maisa Yada belonged to you in lieu of my not feeding you. So over here, from the case of Hegdish, apparently we have answered both sides of the coin. Watch. If someone's Magdish, this is the workings of his Eved, what does the Eved have to do? He has to borrow money to eat and pay back the money. That's what it says. So don't focus on the payback. Let's just focus on two things. Is the Maisa Yad of Hegdish, guys? Let's a little bobblehead time. Is the Maisa Yad of Hegdish? Yes, correct? Good. How is that a raya that it belongs to the master? Of course. Because it didn't belong to him, he couldn't be Magdish it. Ein Adam Magdish Davish Ein Shalai. Great. Does he have to feed the Eved? No, because the Eved's going to borrow money to eat. So you've answered both aspects. A person can take the Maisa Yodav of his Eved, and he doesn't have to feed him. Great. One more time. Tashma, Domarav, Hamagdishi de Avdoi, Oisa Eved Loiva, he has to borrow money, Vaichel to eat, Vaisa, he'll work, Upari and pay off the Chayv. Shma Mina, Yachal Rav Loima Eved, a Rav can tell an Eved, Asa imi, work for me, Veini Samcha, and I won't provide for you. And for the Gemara, you're feeding him. So since you're feeding him, the Maisa Yada belong to you. If you're telling me that what it's speaking where you're feeding you, if you're being fed, why are you borrowing money to eat? If you're being fed, why are you borrowing money to eat? And for the Gemara, la dafa. I'm borrowing money. What for? A little extra. I'm borrowing money for a little extra. Says the Gemara. Now, since he's using Hegdish money, he's going to be using Hegdish money to pay off his chayvus, right? Guys, what's he doing? Loiva, he borrows, upayreya, and he pays off. So the lemelei Hegdish at hashta sagi lecha b'loy adafa, the hashta nami to sagi lecha b'loy adafa. Now, up until now, right? Up until now, you got mizaynis from the Adon, but he gave you, and you weren't you were makabel. Now hashta, all of a sudden now, the Maisa Yadav that belonged to Hegdish to Sagi L'cha B'lo Yadafa. In other words, until now, when you were eating, the Maisa Yadav that was shaykh to the Adon, you kept for yourself. But now, with Hadafa, why should you keep it? It's just extra credit. Let that go to Hegdish. Says, no. Hegdish gufa nichale. Hegdish wants him to be well fed. Right. In order that his work will be better. In other words, since all his Maisiyada belongs to Hegdish, if post this area, we want him to be in the best possible shape to make the most money. So Hegdish doesn't mind him making a little more money. Now the question is, Meir's question, how in the world is he paying back Hegdish over here? How with Hegdish money? What's going on over here? How is he paying back? If all Maisi Yadav is Hegdish, how is he paying back? So the Gemara says, Oiso Pareya, Kamo Kaddish, Lei Pachas Mishava Pruta. Look at Rashi and Taisus both agree that Hegdish is not Chal unless than a Shava Pruta. So it's going to be a tedious, long time for him to pay back, but he works a little bit, makes a Shava Pruta, gives the less than a Shava Pruta, gives it the Hegdish. Works a little bit, less than a Shava Pruta, gives the Hegdish. Hachanami mistaber, that's what it's talking about. Hachanami mistaber, to say it's speaking where that the Rav told the Eved to go ahead and work, it's for the extra, but the Ikim Zainis, the master's chayiv to give him. In other words, that he made a deal with him. Say we're answering our question, guys. What's our question? We want to prove the fact that his stuff is Hegdish. His stuff is Hegdish. And so it must belong to the master and he doesn't have to feed him. The reason why he doesn't have to feed him, is because he made a deal with him. Your Maisa Yada belong to you. Your Maisa Yada belong to you. Up until what? Until the Hadafa. Says the Gemara, here's the case. And the Amar Rav, Hamagdash Yidei Avdoi, if someone's Magdash in the hands of his Eved, Oisa Eved, Oisa V'oichel. That Eved goes ahead and eats. So over here it doesn't become Hegdish. So it must be speaking the loy of the man palachle. If he's not going to work, who's going to work for him? The first price is speaking where the master gave him money, right? And he's not able to go ahead. He's not able to go at the Eina Yachol. The Adam to say to him, work for me for nothing, for her, and the latter one. And therefore in the latter one, he didn't give him money, and therefore he can't say to him, work for me for nothing. So the Maisa Yadav belong to the Eved. So very geschmack, guys. In the latter case, it's not Hegdish. He works and he eats, meaning it's not Hegdish. Why is it not Hegdish? Because the master did not have the ability to make it Hegdish. Because he told him, he didn't say to him, he didn't have that ability, because he didn't say to him that whatever you work should belong to me. I won't give you mizaynis and it belongs to you. Okay? The Eloy of the my palach says Gemara, if you're going to tell me very good, V'yachol, if you're going to tell me in the first case that he can tell the Eved, you work for me and I won't feed you, the Eloi of the man palachle, man de boy niflechei. So the Eloi of the man palachle, if the Eved is not working for himself, who's going to work for him? There's no reason to mata to eat the Maisiyada because the Hegdish. In other words, if you could go ahead and tell the Eved, work for me and I won't feed you, how's the Eved able to eat in the latter case, fellas? Oichel v'oisa. It's not his, it's Hegdish. Because the Baal had the capacity to magdish it. Man de boy niflechei. Whoever works, man de boy lemiflechei, whoever works, man de boy niflechei, mi sheyirtze sheyav la'achila. I don't get the lashon down so clearly. Wait a second. The first case where the Eved has to borrow is speaking where she'ena maila, where he didn't go ahead and give him a zaynis. V'yachal, and is able to tell the Eved, asay mi ve'ena zayncha, the loy of this man palachle, because if he doesn't work for himself, who's going to work for him? Now, however, shari him kedesh, because it's going to be hegdish. Man de boy niflechei. I'm not reading this well. It's not going well. I'm not. Sorry. I thought I had it. I don't have it. The first case, the Eved's working and he's paying back Hegdish. It's mashma the Hegdish is chal. Why is the Hegdish chal? Because the Adain earns the Ma'aser Yada belongs to the Adain. But if you're going to tell me that, and the second case, it's speaking where the Ma'aser Yada doesn't belong to it, so therefore wasn't able to magdish it. That's the answer to the case. I'm just figuring out how to stick it into the words. The first din where the Baal, where the Eved has to borrow money and eat, it's speaking where the husband gave him, where the master gave him food, and since he gave him food, right? Since he gave him food, the extra hadafa belongs to Hegdish. Ve'ini yachol, the master can't tell him, work for me and I'll feed you. And the second case, where the Eved works and keeps it himself, is speaking b'she'ena maila, where the master didn't give him a zaynus. If the master didn't give him a zaynus, the Ma'aser Yada doesn't belong to him. Shapir, everything is good. That's well. L.E. Amit, the first case, where the Rav told the Eved, you work and eat. It's speaking the we work and eat. It's speaking b'she'ena maila, where he didn't go ahead and give him a zaynus, and the Adon is able to say to the Eved, you work for me and I won't give you anything, and therefore he's able to be magdash Ma'aser Yada because it belongs to him. If that's the case, and then the second case where Rav said the Eved's oisav oichel, the loy ovis man palachle, man de boy niflechei. Who cares? In other words, if you're able to go ahead and tell the Eved, work and I won't feed you, then why in the second case can the Eved eat for himself? The last case says the Eved's oisav oichel. Why is the Eved oisav oichel? L'chayra, the master could tell him, work for nothing, and it belongs to me. You see clearly the fact that it belongs to the Eved and it's not Kodesh, that he can't tell him that. Says the Gemara. I have to finish.
I don't understand.
I'll finish. Let me finish.
Okay.
So in other words, okay, Hesha, yes.
I don't understand. How could an Eved borrow? If everything belongs to the master, how could he borrow on the master's cheshbon? In other words, he can't do anything.
It doesn't belong to the master. It belongs to Hegdish. It doesn't belong to the master. It belongs to Hegdish.
So he's borrowing against Hegdish.
You made a deal. You made a deal that I'm not gonna, whatever you make belongs to you, and I'm not gonna feed you. I'm not going to feed you. You keep your Ma'aser Yadcha. So therefore, it doesn't.
So he's on his own, in effect.
So it doesn't belong to the master.
But
you're mixing two things up. Once you made that deal, it doesn't belong to the master.
All right. Okay.
Now, anyway, once we said the case is speaking where he made the deal, you can't be Paisha the Shaila, right, guys? he made the deal with him. He said, you keep your food, and tachts my siyatcha. He said, I won't feed you, and then you keep your my siyatcha. Okay. Says the Gemara the following. Let's be pushed to the Shaila. Tashma, Dam Rabbi Yochanan. Someone cuts off the hand. Now, we know if you cut off somebody's hand, you have to pay nezek, tsar. Nezek is the devaluation of the person with the hand and an outer hand to be sold as a eved in the marketplace. The tsar that a person undergoes, ripui deductibles, shevet the disability, and boishes. Those are 5 things a person has to pay. We're going to deal with 2 of them. We're going to deal with disabilities and deductibles. Says the Gemara. So, both the disability and the refuah and the money for the doctor goes to the master. And that eved has to go ahead. He can't work anymore. Where's he going to get his money from? From tzedakah, but not from what? The master. Work for me, and I won't go ahead and provide for you. Apparently, this would be a very good raya, guys. He's not working. He doesn't have to pay him anything, right? It's speaking where he did feed him. We gave him money. My knees him in that tzedakah. Why is he why does he have to go to the tzedakah? Let the master provide for him. La dafa. Let him provide for himself. La dafa means the extra. Nizain. It should say nizain. It should say nizain. Misparnes mi boile. It should say misparnes. Allah shmamina. Yachol. Shmamina that a master can say to his eved that you work for me and I won't feed you. So again, the lashon hakatei yad avdei shlachavei nice and shifter refuasa the rabbi voice eved nizay min tzedakah. It doesn't say nisparnes min tzedakah. It says nizay min tzedakah because the master does not have to give him. So it comes out that we had a machloikis between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Like Rav, a person, we weren't placed at the shaila that a man can't say to his eved, work for me, and I won't feed you. Like Rabbi Yochanan, who the halacha is always like machloikis Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, you could. So it comes out a very interesting halacha. A guy can go ahead and tell his eved, you work for me, and I won't what? You work for me, and I don't have to feed you. Okay, that's what it says. Now, if this is the Rambam, at the end, the last Rambam in Hilchas Avodim. Remember, I told you the Rambam in the last halachas usually brings a little more than halacha. So Yachal Rav Loy Mala'avdoi, a man's able to say to his Evet Kanani, again, this is always Evet Kanani, Asa in me, work for me, Ve'eni Zoncha, and I won't go ahead and provide for you. Eliyelech v'yishal al psachim, go door to door. V'yisparnes min tzedakah, and you'll be sustained from tzedakah. Sheyisrael mitzuvim l'hachiyas avodim shebinehem. Because Bnei Yisrael, they are mitzvah to go ahead and they're mitzvah bezdin to keep avodim alive. So this is the halacha we're passing like Rabbi Yochanan. This is we're passing like what? Like Rabbi Yochanan. Good. Now the Rambam continues. Says the Rambam, Mutar lavoid be'eved Kanani befarach. You can go ahead and treat your eved Kanani very, very befarach. You can treat him very, very harshly. You can treat your eved Kanani very harshly. The afa pi shadin din kach. Even though that's the din, you can treat him harshly. Midas chasidis uderachme chachma. This is the midas chasidis of a Jew, and the derech of chachma. Shiyu adam rachman. A person should be merciful. V'roidei tzedek. And running after righteousness, and not make heavy his oil on his eved. You shouldn't stress him. You should feed him. And you should give him the drink. Don't feed him junk. Give him good stuff. They gave the Eved Kanani the same food that they ate. And they even fed the Eved before themselves. You should embarrass him, not physically, right? Not with avodim, avoid this masran. They were given to you for avodah hakasav lelavusha. They were given to you for what to as an avdus. They weren't giving you for you to embarrass. Lo yarbolav tzaka, do not be marba, screaming at him. Bekas, eli darbi moy benachas. You should speak to him in a quiet manner. The yishma tainoisav, and you should listen to his complaints. The Chem Mefurish B'darkei Iyov says hatoivim sheishtabeach. It got cut off a little bit. Behen, and he the enach zorius va'azus mitsuya ella, the cruelty and azus of mitsuya ella ba'akam of the abayduzara. These to be cruel and to mistreat peoples only found by goyim of the abayduzara. Aval zara shel Avram Avinu the Haim Yisrael, the zera of Avram, and that's Yisrael. She'eshpiel ema kodesh baruch hu toivis ha'toira v'tziva isanu v'chukim u'mishpatim tzadikim rachmanim haim al hakol. Rachmanas and everything. Again, the beauty of the Jew. The Chaim b'midois shel kodesh baruch hu shesivanu lidamas behen. We're commanded to go ahead v'lachta b'drachav, to go ahead and emulate Hashem. V'oim v'rachamav al kol ma'isa v'kodesh baruch hu is rachmanas on all his ma'asim. The chol hamarachim marachim love. Anyone has marachim on others, Hashem la rachmanas on him. Shneimar v'nasim l'charachmim v'chamcha v'yerbecha. So even though you don't have to feed your eved, even though again the Rambam at the end warns us and gives us tremendous musa how one is supposed to treat the avodim, and I think all people in that way. Okay, everyone should have a good day. I'm sorry, I'm not so clear in the Gemara at the end. I could have done a better job. Forgive me.
Wait, the shares tomorrow night, regular time?
Why not?
I don't know. It's Memorial Day.
Yeah, but certain people work.
Some people work.
Blaze,
Okay.
Blaze, when I was in Eretz Yisrael one time,
Okay, so start over again. The Thailand what?
I was once in Eretz Yisrael, and I was in an Airbnb, and there's a guy who worked there from Thailand, and I asked him, "How did you get from to Eretz Yisrael from Thailand?" Well, what's the connection? He said he first got to Jordan because he needed work, and in Jordan the Arabs treated him like garbage. They beat him. They beat him. They didn't pay him. They didn't feed him. It's a disaster. And somehow he got out of there, got to Eretz Yisrael. He says, "I've never been happier in my life. They pay me, they feed me, they take care of me. I'm in charge of things. It's like the best thing that ever happened to me in my life."
Beautiful.
The difference between a guy and a
That Rambam again, guys. Always the Rambam. The last Rambams are always packed full of geschmack stuff. We had the Rambam in Me'ilah. We had the Rambam in Tmura. We're all over. They say wonderful, wonderful things. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day.